is with us. Hello, sir.
Hey, Joe, you well?
I'm very well, and Dave McIntyre as well. Hello, Dave.
Hi, Joe. Hey, Richie.
I was giving Richie a chance to say hello back. He declined.
I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to talk to that deserter, that splitter, that Dave McIntyre.
Bad start.
I mean, I thought in radio grammar terms when you said hello, Joe, hello, Richie, I thought I should give the man a chance to come in, but steely-eyed right back at the camera came McCormack.
I know who the star of the show is. I know my place.
Dear, oh dear. So, Philippe Auclair on the way after 9 o'clock talking PSG. Maurizio Pochettino, I mean, has the temerity, Dave, to take off 34-year-old Lionel Messi in the 77th minute. Admittedly, the game was 1-1, but at that stage, Messi was basically injured and may now be out for the Manchester City game next week. And cue worldwide headlines and Pochettino coming out and having to explain himself this week in the press, and not helped by the fact that Messi glared at him, ignored the hand which was put out, and then looked back at him when Pochettino had asked him a question, as if to say, I'm not getting into a conversation with you, because I think Pochettino had asked him, was he okay? And Messi didn't say much back. So just like Solskjaer with Ronaldo, Pochettino is learning that managing an ageing all-time great is not without its complications.
Yeah, it was always going to be inevitable we'd have some sort of a situation like this, wasn't it? I wonder deep down in his heart of hearts if you'd given Pochettino the chance to decide whether or not Messi would sign for the club, would he have wanted him to come? I'm not sure. Handling the likes of Neymar, Di Maria and Mbappe, potentially want away Mbappe once his contract runs down is probably going to be difficult enough. None of them are going to want to be coming off. I would say Neymar and Messi in particular are being taken off after about 70 minutes. Every time that happens, they won't be impressed, even if, as it turns out, Messi was carrying somewhat of an injury. He is very well recompensed for the job that he does, Maurizio Pochettino, but in terms of the day-to-day running of the job, it can't be that easy trying to juggle all those egos, and it's probably an impossible job. He'll never do it to everybody's satisfaction. He just has to try and muddle through as best he can.
It's probably created a problem for him, like this manager who likes pressing football, and he's got Messi, Neymar and Mbappe in the team. I mean, maybe Mbappe to a lesser extent, but Messi and Neymar trying to implement some kind of pressing football. By all accounts, and to be fair, PSG are 6 for 6 in Ligue 1, so it's not like they're off to a bad start or anything. But by all accounts, Lyon were playing all the football in that game, and it was a 4-2-3-1. So he had Herrera and Idrissa Gueye as the two in front of midfield. He has Di Maria, Messi, Neymar behind Mbappe. I mean, it should work, obviously, because it's all glorious, but in terms of balance, I just don't really know how PSG can't be vulnerable to the top teams with that lineup. And when it comes to, say, for instance, he looks at Messi and he says, well, look, I want Mbappe's pace, and Neymar's been in much better form the last couple of years and played really well for PSG, and Di Maria has been brilliant. Say he decides, it's a certain game, I want to play a certain style, I'd love to just bring Messi on with 20 minutes to go, or thinks that.
Impact's so Messi.
Yeah, I know. The Mayo did a piece like looking at the very, very few instances, because obviously there haven't been that many, where Messi, basically wasn't given every minute on the pitch. He does not react well. So 2008, Barcelona are 4-0 up. 4-0 up in a nothing La Liga game. It's the 81st minute. They have lots of games to play. Guardiola takes off Messi with 9 minutes to go at 4-0 up. He refuses to train the next day. He's just like, this is unacceptable, Pep. This will not happen again. And then 2015, he's been on international duty. So they're away to Sociedad. They do lose the match, and Luis Enrique benches Messi. To give him a rest. I mean, Messi's never benched. It was to rest him. And so irritated with this. Messi missed training. The annual visit to the Children's Hospital, he missed that as well. He ducked that. It seems Xavi had to intervene and settle everything down. They go on to win the treble, and Enrique later describes that time as a, quote, period of tension, end quote, with Messi. So, I mean, with that in the background, if you're Pochettino, Dave, and you're trying to do what's best for the team, against certain opposition, I'm talking high-level Champions League knockout stages. I mean, look, it's crazy to say don't play Messi, but there might be certain games where it doesn't suit what you think is the best thing to do. You kind of have to play him. I mean, all hell breaks loose otherwise.
Yeah, it's one that you have to juggle, to make that decision at the expense of harmony within the squad. But there's no link man in there at all, really, is there? I mean, Verratti wasn't in that team. When he's fit, you probably put him in ahead of either Idrissa Gueye or Ander Herrera, but then you've lost an awful lot of steel from your midfield. But look, how many managers in the world would kill to be in a position to juggle those options? Like, no one will have any sympathy whatsoever for Mauricio Pochettino. It's his job to try and get the best out of the players he's got available to him. If that means dropping one of them here or there and having to ride out the storm that might inevitably follow that, his ultimate job is to win the Champions League. The owners won't really care if one of those four is a bit cheesed off because they aren't starting enough games, if he can deliver the Champions League. On that note, they weren't overly impressive in Belgium last week. I mean, they could have lost that game. Bruges had a couple of really good chances to steal the 3 points. But that's his ultimate goal. Deliver that. It doesn't really matter how it happens. But I'd say he hopes that one of them picks up an injury at one stage so he can get a run where he can just play the three of them without having to get in trouble with any of them.
Yeah. So Philippe Auclair on the way after 9. I mean, the piece more than anything, it's not so much, oh dear, Messi's upset at being substituted because he'll get over it. It's just the circus suddenly, you know. It was like worldwide headlines when he storms off. And
like you've read Simon Cooper's book on Barca. Like he has had one of the biggest clubs in the world engineered around him and his whims alone for the last decade. So to extricate yourself from that and suddenly find yourself in new surrounds whereby everything isn't geared around you, and there's these other lads who have had the run of the place for the last 4 or 5 years and are on similar money to what you're on, but probably not as much either. Like, it's a very different scenario he's finding himself in. Maybe he's relieved to be rid of the kind of the pressure that came with being Barcelona's last remaining star. But there's a lot that goes with it. Like, there will come some point when his opinion will be worth more than Pochettino's, and that's when Pochettino's in trouble. And a similar situation is going to arise sooner rather than later at Manchester United with Ronaldo and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And we already saw that with Ronaldo's behaviour as regards offering instructions or barracking the referee, whatever, from the sideline in Bern. Like, these players are bigger than the teams they play for, and with that, you have to take the fact that they're exceptionally skilled, but also they're pretty adept politicians as well.
They sure are. And it's at such an interesting point in their careers where they're, raging against the dying of the light and they're in decline. And at a certain point, it's going to be someone's job to say, we're not so sure you're worth your place in the team. Mightn't be this season, mightn't be next season, but it's approaching, and that's a difficult period to manage two of the greatest footballers of all time in. So PSG, Philippe Auclair on the way after 9 o'clock. Shane Ryan, as I mentioned, golf journalist, author, doing a brilliant podcast series at the moment as well on the Ryder Cup. Dave, I know you're into it. Team USA at home, starting to look very strong. The closer this gets, I'm sensing a pretty comprehensive US win, I think. Now, that's been the case with many Ryder Cups, and Team Europe come in and somehow David does beat Goliath, but USA looks so good on paper this time around.
I would fear a United States landslide. I would. I think we all want the drama and the twists and turns, particularly in the singles on the Sunday, and we've got it so often. But if you go back from 2014 onwards, that's what 3 Ryder Cups in a row now have been terribly one-sided. And I feel we're going to have a 4th, because the home team generally has a huge advantage just by the way the course is set up. Anyhow, I mean, Paris was a washout, Gleneagles was a washout. Europe were only really in contention for a little bit of the 3 days under Darren Clark in 2016 at Hazeltine. And I think this time around, it's going to be a pretty one-sided American victory. Now, that's not to say there can't be a couple of breakout stars on the European side. There was a bit of a raised eyebrow when Justin Rose found himself edged out by Bernd Wiesberger, and 4-3 wouldn't go when it came to Harrington's picks after the PGA Championship at Wentworth. Maybe Wiesberger plays 4 matches and picks up 2.5, 3 points. You don't know. Tyrrell Hatton could form a brilliant partnership with Casey, for example, and make 3 or 4 points. But if Europe aren't 9-7 plus up going into the singles, my fear would be America could take 8 or 9 of those on Sunday. And I mean, if the match is anyway close, well, there's your landslide victory right there. I mean, if Europe could maybe be in a position where they only need 5 of the 12 or 4 of the 12. Now, they only needed 4 of the 12 at Brookline in '99, and we know where that got them. But I think their captain this time is a cut above the captain they had to deal with in 1999, and Mark James, who made a complete mess of that situation. I don't see that happening with Harrington. But I hope we get, given that we've had to wait 3 years for it, I really hope we get the spectacle that we are so desperate for. Just have a feeling that we may not.
No, I think you're right. Team Europe have spent the day really rubbing everybody's faces in it, just how well they get along. I mean, these are a camera-conscious bunch of men at the moment. I've seen videos of McIlroy and Sergio rehearsing Cristiano Ronaldo's goal celebration. There's a video of the team getting their photo taken, and honestly, they're all just laughing for about 40 seconds and nothing that funny. They just want to let Team USA know that they're all best friends. They love each other. It's like it's sickly. They're like rubbing their love for each other in everyone's faces at the moment. That's what they've been doing for most of the day.
Yeah, it's not going to hold too many putts, though, is it? So
No.
the camaraderie is great and everything, and it generates that real team atmosphere. And it's probably more so for the underdogs, and even when they've come into the Ryder Cup off the back of a hiding, which was the case in Paris, Europe will still come in as the underdogs. And that is obviously the case this time around. I mean, the average world ranking is so far superior from an American point of view. Even their rookies are major champions, or certainly a couple of them are. I just think that America are going to hold a lot of putts this week. And I think in the 4 balls and the singles in particular, because the likes of Bryson, who no matter who he's with, he's playing his old ball in the 4 balls on a Friday and Saturday afternoon. Doesn't really matter what his partner does it? Hey, he's probably up alongside another big hitter who's going to reduce the par 5s to smithereens. And if Europe are going to struggle to break even anywhere bar the foursomes, I think, and that does not give you a recipe for a European victory. No matter how many high fives there are and how well they're getting on and how many games of pool they're playing and darts they're throwing on a board in the team room, no matter how many images Padraig Harrington puts up around them and how many videos he's put together for them, that does not get your bread buttered. It doesn't get the big putts hold, and it's going to take a spectacular performance from Europe to make this close Sunday afternoon. I hope I'm completely wrong and that I'm being laughed at on Twitter on Monday morning. I really do, but all I want is a spectacle, and I'm worried that we won't get it.
Yeah. Richie, I know you're too nervous right now to talk about the Ryder Cup, so I won't put you on the spot. I know, I mean, it's you're getting tight.
I've got the blue jersey on and all, Joe.
Hey, listen, you're getting tight. I know. It happens Ryder Cup week. It's a tough week for you, the nerves. So we'll start the news round with thanks to Gillette. Put your best face forward with their new and improved razors. I think Ireland have gone a goal up early on.
Yeah, they have. They've actually just been pegged back to parity at the moment. Debutant Lucy Quinn had a free kick just outside the Australian box in tonight's international friendly at Tallaght Stadium. She took it right-footed. It careened in off the side of Mackenzie Arnold and into the Australian net to give Ireland a 4th-minute lead. But the Matildas have just equalised on the 15th minute, so 1-1 the latest score at Tallaght Stadium. It was quarter of an hour played. Dundalk are down to the bare bones for this evening's FAI Cup quarter-final replay with Finn Harps. A mix of injuries and COVID-19 deprives Vinnie Perth of as many as 11 players. They pretty much cobbled together a back 4 for tonight's game with Finn Harps. Kick-off at Oriel Park is at 7:45. Caoimhín Kelleher, as expected, starts in goal for a youthful Liverpool team in the Carabao Cup tonight. They are away to Norwich, and the Premier League frontrunners also hand senior debuts to 16-year-old Cade Gordon and Northern Ireland international fullback Conor Bradley. Andrew Omobamidele and Adam Ida both start for Norwich tonight. Holders Manchester City welcome League One side Wycombe to the Etihad. Darrell Horgan is on the bench for the visitors there. Brentford host Oldham, Burnley entertain Rochdale, and Everton face a tricky test at QPR. Elsewhere, Leeds travel to Fulham. Southampton are away to Sheffield United, and Watford take on Stoke at Vicarage Road.
So I see Larry McCarthy, the GAA president, has been speaking, Richie.
Yeah, he has said that overly harsh scrutiny of amateur players is unjustifiable. He's described the online and traditional media abuse of players and management as cowardly. McCarthy's words follow Mayo's rebuke of the abuse suffered by their players following their All-Ireland final loss to Tyrone.
It's harder to gauge the online abuse because, I mean, I'm not searching for it, and generally the people I'm following are not hammering the Mayo players in particular. Traditional media, he mentioned as well. Dave, has the traditional media jumped out to you as being cowardly in their abuse of Mayo?
No. I wonder, is he thinking of one particular portion of traditional media when he's making those comments?
Is this the Joe Brolly piece in the Sunday Independent?
Yeah.
I was away, so I didn't read the Joe Brolly piece in the Sunday Independent, but I've heard it was scathing.
It was terrible, and it was. I love an awful lot of what Joe writes. I think I'm repeating words repeated precisely in this matter when we talk about Joe's pieces in Sunday Independent before on the show. There are times when I absolutely love what he writes, but I mean, to call that group of Mayo players a bunch of time wasters, the day after an All-Ireland final defeat, which just must have ruin them emotionally and mentally. I just think it was terribly unfair. And these guys are still amateurs. They're still busting their balls to try and get themselves to that elite level. None of them wanted to make the mistakes or the poor decisions they made on All-Ireland final day. Some of them, like Lee Keegan, Aidan O'Shea, Kevin McLaughlin, have lost 7 All-Irelands or have failed to win in 7. And to see that written about you the day after, I just think is really unfair, absolutely uncalled for, and it's personal. Now, it's not the first time that Joe's made things personal when he's talking about Mayo. I think he's got a bit of a gripe there with Mayo, whatever the background to that is. But that was terribly unfair. And if that's what Larry McCarthy's talking about in terms of traditional media, it's a bit of a generalisation on the president's part, because I didn't see anything else that I consider remotely untoward in all of the post-match reading that I did on the Sunday evening and the Monday afterwards.
Okay. So you've got some interviews from Whistling Straits for us, Rich?
Yeah, lots of media going on today, and the European team have been familiarising themselves with Whistling Straits. Padraig Harrington's charges have had their first practice sessions at the Wisconsin course ahead of Friday's start of the Ryder Cup. Rory McIlroy among those in front of the media today, and he was asked if we can expect to see him as animated as he was when the Ryder Cup was last played on American soil.
I certainly will try to not be as animated, and I'll try to conserve some energy. It's a long week, and whether I play all 5 again, we'll see, but it's a lot of golf. It's a lot of energy just playing, and then trying to beat who you're playing against. If you try to beat the crowd as well, it seems like a bit of a impossible task. So I will try my best for this team, and I'll try to play the best golf I possibly can. But I sort of learned quite a few things from 2016. About conserving energy, and I felt like I sort of hit a wall on the back 9 against Patrick that day, and I want to make sure that doesn't happen again.
Well, it's kind of interesting because he did the big hand behind the ear celebration against Reid and really got pumped up, and it was notable. Paul McGinley was writing in the Sunday papers, and he was saying, like, one of the things you have to do when you're away against a partisan crowd is maybe not over celebrate, like you're just bringing the atmosphere up and you're doing yourself no favors, and actually just bob along nice and quietly and don't take on the crowd because you can't win, which was kind of an interesting insight, Dave. Although look, McIlroy did it and he's played well. We've seen Patrick Reid take on the crowd away and do just fine. Probably just depends on the individual, really.
Yeah, and interesting. I mean, that moment was followed by Patrick Reid pouring in a putt from almost the same distance.
Yeah.
And then putting his finger to his lips, and that was brilliant. And that is one of the reasons why you'd love to see Patrick Reid in this year's Ryder Cup. But obviously, Steve Stricker has decided he doesn't want to have that problem on his hands over the course of the week. It's a bit different again this year because they do expect the numbers of Europeans to be on the golf course to be far less than we would have had in previous Ryder Cups for obvious reasons. And they do like a beer on those golf courses, and they do like to become as animated and as rowdy and as loud and boisterous as they can, the American crowds. But it must be very difficult. Like, if you're getting a little bit of abuse, whether it's in good-natured or a little more personal, and you hold a big putt, very difficult to keep your emotions in check. Now, I love to see the players really going at it. I love it. I love the fist pumping and the high fives with each other, and maybe a little gesture or two to the crowd, albeit obviously nothing obscene. But I wouldn't mind seeing Rory McIlroy really going for it at times. I think John Ram, for example, will. And
as you're talking there, I mean, Ian Poulter in Medina, so it worked out just fine. To be fair, I think in that clip, McIlroy's maybe not talking about celebrating so much in terms of conserving energy. Bryson DeChambeau, needless to say, Richie, he was asked about what Bryson DeChambeau was asked about every week of his life.
Yeah, well, it was midway through the press conference today before it actually came up, but he has downplayed his feud with Brooks Koepka. The pair have been involved, as we know, in a war of words for the best part of a year. But DeChambeau has hinted at a box office pairing when speaking today.
Again, a lot of this social media stuff has definitely been driven by a lot of external factors, not necessarily us two. We had some great conversations Tour Championship week when we had dinner, and then this week as well. I had sat down at dinner with him last night, and it was fine. And I think there may be something fun coming up here moving forward, but won't speak too much more on that.
Oh, yes. Now we're talking. Oh, my God. I mean, first pairing Friday morning. That's the dream.
It's going to happen.
That would be fantastic. Now, when he says we sat down and had dinner, I'd love to know, was it you and him sitting next to each other or opposite each other, or is he just talking about the entire team and all the vice captains and everyone happening to be in the same room having dinner together? I'd like a bit of clarification on that. But he has dangled that in front of us. And what other pairing could he possibly be referring to? Bryson with anybody else now doesn't cut it when it comes to the tease he's just thrown out.
I wouldn't say that was the most subtle hint I've ever heard in my life.
No. Oh, it would be. And look, if they go out together, and this is a real thing for Steve Stricker to consider, you put them out together first thing and they win. What a tone that sends. It destroys this illusion that the Americans are embittered and fractious and not getting on together and have no real team feel to them. Destroys that in over one 18-hole stretch.
Yeah.
That is binned, as well as getting a point, as well as setting those two up for the rest of the week. I think Stricker would give that serious consideration. And if the two of those convince him that they can do it and then they go out and win, that would be a really, really bad omen for Europe.
Totally agree. I'm saying to people I was chatting to all week, the first thing Stricker should do this week is get the two of them in a room and say, are you up for this? This is the ultimate flex.
Yeah.
If I can put you two out Friday, and even if you half the match and high five afterwards, I think USA's chance of winning the Ryder Cup go up exponentially if that happens.
Absolutely,
I think you'd say, if you guys are up for it, this will be one of the great Ryder Cup moments. And appeal to their ego. And, they might just go for it. Well, listen to Bryson there. We now know if it doesn't happen, it's because Brooks doesn't want it to happen. Like Bryson, I'm not sure even Bryson picks up the vibes when Brooks is saying things like, Jordan, can you ask Bryson to pass the salt? I think he counts that as having dinner.
He may well do. Now, I'm not sure. I wouldn't have them in the foursomes, maybe. But in the four balls, you just say to them, I want you to go out and I want you to beat Brooks's ball, and vice versa. Yeah. You go out and outdo each other. And if you guys do that and do it well and competitively, there's almost no doubt you're going to pick up a point for America. And who cares what way it comes in?
Richie, you're shaking here. You're frothing at the mouth just thinking about all this. It's too much.
Do you know what? If the Ryder Cup people had any sense whatsoever, what they do is they would stick cameras in both of the team rooms and have it as a subscription service for the likes of Ye, whereby you can watch it pretty much 24/7 like Big Brother back in the day.
Name your price.
On E4, you just watch people sleeping.
I did do that.
You watch people eating their dinner.
Yeah, I was a sucker for Big Brother Live. Oh my God. And if they were talking about people and they had to protect privacy and you'd have like 15 minutes of like the thing muted, I'd stick with it. There was body language to be read. I'll tell you one thing, actually.
Man, they could do the whole thing. They could do the whole, remember the first couple of series of Big Brother whereby there was like a Monday show where they'd have like body language experts in.
Yeah,
and
Big Brother's little brother.
What Nick means here, when he's turned away and holding his hands in a certain position, he's actually lying to Emma or whatever, Oh, yeah. Did you get that in for the Ryder Cup? See, I'm expanding the Ryder Cup for your benefit, Joe. I'm trying to do you a favour here.
Dermot O'Leary was the host with the most on that show, can I say. By the way, one thing they should do for TV for Ryder Cup, and this is a no-brainer. I don't know why they haven't done this. You know the way they just lay out all the Sunday singles? It's random. You know what I mean? There's no the captain's pick and there's not much to it. You just pick your order and away you go. They need to do it where it's like Team USA, who you putting out first? Harrington, you get to respond. Then it's Harrington, who you putting out first? Then it's Stricker, you get to respond. And then it's Stricker, who you putting out third? Harrington, you respond, and on we go. So actually, the captain has to think on his feet and decide, oh my God, they've put Ram out first. Right, I'm putting out so-and-so. And then on we go and vice versa. And I think that could be a more interesting 15 minutes of TV.
This is the best production meet we've ever had, John. We're not getting it.
I'm losing the run of myself here. So is there a last story you want to bring us, Rich?
Yeah, Denise O'Sullivan has just given Ireland the lead at home to Australia. We've got ourselves a bit of a humdinger. It was Mary Fowler who got the equaliser for the Matildas, but Denise O'Sullivan, another deflected shot, has given Ireland the lead there. Hungary, meanwhile, have been handed a one-game stadium ban by FIFA for the racist abuse of England players. Jude Bellingham and Raheem Sterling were both subjected to monkey chants during this month's World Cup qualifier in Budapest. There was also, you might imagine, missiles thrown onto the pitch too. Hungary's next qualifier is at home to Albania. That'll be played behind closed doors. A second stadium ban is going to be suspended for 2 years. They've been handed a 200,000 Swiss franc ban, or fine, I should say, which is about 185,000 euro.
Okay. Text of the week, I would safely say, even though it's only a Tuesday, but Tom has texted in. The Ryder Cup is like school's cup in rugby. Someone has deemed both to be important. Both are inflated beyond that which they are.
Cut me open, John. I bleed blue and yellow.
Richie's in for Tom Dunn, by the way, this evening. So plan accordingly out there.
Yeah, find something else to do.
Richie, thank you.
Nice lads.
Dave McIntyre, thank you. Enjoy the Ryder Cup, Dave. Take it easy.
Cheers.
Cheers. This week, by the way, is European Week of Sport, which aims to promote sport and physical activity in all countries across Europe. The week is for everyone, regardless of age, background or fitness level. The aim is to inspire Europeans to #be active on a regular basis. So to celebrate, a great prize for you. We're giving away €100 Sport Ireland campus voucher every night this week. All our nightly winners also go into the draw for our end of week prize too, which is a family coaching session with former Olympians at the Sport Ireland campus and a tour of the facility, which is fantastic. You'll get to do an athletics session, and then you can jump off the 10-metre diving board as well if you're feeling brave. €500 voucher as well for the sports campus. So great prize there. To be in with a chance of winning, just answer this question. Who won in rugby, this is the European Champions Cup in 2021. So who won the European Champions Cup in 2021? Name and answer please to 53106 for 30 cents, and we'll call the winner after the show. We've got Shane Ryan from Whistling Straits after 8. We have Philippe Auclair on PSG after 9. Next up, Kenneth Egan with us talking boxing.